Were you a fake natty? Are you a fake natty? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. The truth.
Oh man.
Yo, what's up? I'm here with Connor Murphy.
What up?
We're just gonna hit a back and bicep workout today. Be a good lift, man.
Cool. Yeah. Let's get it.
Alright, I'm here with Connor Murphy, in my opinion, the greatest fitness influencer of all time. He's inspired more people to actually join the gym than anybody else, and it's for one reason. And he actually showed the results of a good physique by getting girls with the physique. So, Connor, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Deep down, I feel like we all just kind of have that one motivation to pretty much do anything, you know, like as men, and that is to get more girls. And obviously, Connor did that more than anybody else. Man, what made you want to get started with social media in general? Because I think you have more views in the fitness industry than literally like anybody else.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I feel like a lot of people probably have this preconceived notion that my personality motivated me to just, go outside and take off my shirt and talk to girls, like as if that was what I was doing in my normal life anyway. But the reality is I was in college, I was majoring in a couple different majors that I wasn't too interested in, computational math and economics. And the closer that it got to me having to get a real 9-to-5 job, the more I pictured my life being very monotonous and boring and meaningless, right? And so I started contemplating different ideas of how I could build a business, right, that would be somewhat fun and enjoyable. And so I came across the likes of Jeff Side and previously Ziz, and I developed this strategy to go viral within the fitness industry, and it was pretty successful very quickly, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Mm-hmm. So the original creation of all the social media, would you say it was more of a character rather than like your real self? It was just kind of like a business model entirely?
Absolutely 100% a character. I mean, there were some advantages to it. So I was a very shy, introverted guy, and even in college, I had to get drunk to even go and socialize at a party.
Yeah.
And so one of the advantages to playing this character was to get out of my comfort zone, get out of my shell, and actually improve as a person. Okay. But at the start, it was the total antithesis of my actual personality. I mean, I was shy, introverted. Like I said, I literally had to get drunk at a party to even be able to talk to girls.
Yeah.
I remember I was dating this girl, and I was so inhibited mentally, right, due to insecurities and whatnot, that I would literally have to write out like a list of talking points because I couldn't think of talking points myself. Like I couldn't just be myself in conversation.
Yeah.
So this extroverted character was the absolute opposite of my true personality. And of course, over time, the personalities began to mesh. I wouldn't say like the superficial, like seeking girls' validation, like that never really integrated too much into my true personality. In fact, by the end of it, I just realized how that was probably disadvantageous for long-term growth. But the idea of becoming more extroverted and being able to, not necessarily care about what other people think of me, that definitely meshed into my normal personality, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's kind of like Fight Club, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool,
Yeah. Have you seen Fight Club?
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Because,
yeah, it's like the Tyler Durden persona. Like that's what like Connor Murphy was, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty cool because every online character, they're all characters, It's like the crazy Connor Murphy character, like the original Connor Murphy character. Like everyone, it's so interesting how everyone, they perceive social media as real life if it's portrayed in a certain context, right? If it's not obvious that it's some sort of scripted performance or some kind of acting skit, a lot of people just automatically perceive that it's real. When the reality is, I mean, it should be fairly evident that almost all of social media is not the reality, at least not the comprehensive reality, right? I mean, so many fitness influencers and influencers in general are showcasing only the best parts of their life, and that leads to a lot of negative emotions, feeling bad about ourselves because we compare to these seemingly idealistic lives when the reality is they probably have more problems than any of us, So,
no, for sure.
So yeah, everyone on social media is essentially playing a character.
It's a fucking act. There is no Ziz.
I mean, it's actually impossible to showcase the full extent of your actual personality on camera, So yeah, I mean, some influencers are more authentic than others, but everyone is playing a character to an extent,
Yeah, no, that makes sense, man. What do you think of this like new generation of fitness influencers? Because obviously I feel like there's different eras. Like there's like the Ziz era, and then like the Connor Murphy, like Brandon Carter, like that type of era, and then it's like kind of the newer era with like the younger guys too, like Sam Solik, Eubank, like people like those,
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say the new area, what I notice it's being characterized as is more transparency with anabolic drug utilization.
Yeah.
And that's a double-edged sword, you know, it has its pros and cons. Obviously, honesty and transparency can have its advantages, but also a lot of people go a little too far and they start romanticizing it, right? And it ends up motivating a lot of younger people to abuse drugs, you know? So it is a double-edged sword, and that's why I am still attempting to bring balance into the fitness industry with the whole Natty Plus movement, right? So yeah, so I mean, yeah, I'm non-judgmental towards it. I'm fairly ambivalent towards it. It's like pros and cons to the new fitness generation, yeah.
Okay. All right, so you started off in the fitness industry. So many people made videos about you saying that you're a fake natty. Were you a fake natty? Are you a fake natty? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. The truth.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, I did a whole deep dive video into
Yeah.
Derek's original speculation that I was a fake natty. And so you can check out that video. It's actually called My Life as a Fake Natty on my YouTube channel. But long story short, oh man, it's so interesting because that entire narrative was such a fabrication, right? So what he did is he utilized this misleading photo selection where he said that I lost gains over the span of 2 years
I
from
remember that video.
2016 to 2018,
Yeah.
right? And then he used that loss in to develop this hypothesis that I lost gains because I discontinued taking anabolic steroids
Yeah.
because I was losing my hair, and so
Yeah.
I needed to come off the steroids to mitigate the hair loss.
Yeah.
The reality is, there was never a significant decline in my physique. So
Yeah.
I can take, he utilized a perfect photo in perfect lighting,
Yeah.
perfect angles as the before picture, and then a screenshot in less flattering lighting and circumstances as the after.
Yeah.
And of course, you can totally manipulate lighting and cameras and angles to show any transformation that you want, a positive one or a negative one.
Yeah.
And so I can use photos from the same time periods to show an improvement in my physique, or at least a maintenance of my physique.
Yeah.
So the whole idea that I lost gains over those 2 years, it was just a fantasy, you know? I mean, my even Derek said, like, my audience actually started thinking I was losing gains as well.
Yeah.
But the reality is I was just more comfortable with showcasing myself in less than ideal circumstances. Like I was doing vlogs where I'm not going to be in perfect lighting every time.
Yes.
It's like my original content, I was only doing those Omegle videos with perfect lighting. I was making sure that every video was like this perfect lighting or I wouldn't even post it. And then I just became more comfortable showing my physique in less flattering circumstances.
Yeah.
So it was totally a fabrication. It's just completely and utterly false. Yeah, I've been completely, I mean, to be fair, I guess there was a point, maybe 2017, 18-ish, where I started experimenting with gray area supplements like MK677.
Okay.
And I did a very short cycle of Ostarine.
Yeah.
And I didn't come forward and say that, oh, I'm taking these now,
Yeah.
right? So that would be like a valid criticism to say, oh, maybe you should have said that you were taking these things. But I certainly wasn't taking what Derek insinuated I was taking, which was like hardcore anabolic steroids, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was completely false, and I'm completely open and honest about everything I take now. I mean, my entire new business, the Natty Plus protocol, is based around like showcasing exactly what I'm taking, doing experiments with what I'm taking. So I'm very open and transparent on my new YouTube channel, the Natty Plus protocol. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Honestly, man, I think a lot of it comes down to jealousy, in my opinion. I mean, you said that you started working out at like 13 years old. How old were you whenever like you blew up?
When I blew up, I was what, 21, 22 years old.
So it's like 8-9 years of consistent lifting, consistent dieting. So at that point, like it's literally your max genetic potential, you know?
Yeah, and also it's like my FFMI isn't anything crazy. It's like a 23.5 or something. You know, the natural limit, what the consensus would say is achievable naturally is something like a 25. So I'm not even that giant. I have a good bone structure. I have good proportions, you know. My triceps, I have really good triceps. They make the side pose look
Yes,
look
iconic
great.
triceps,
Yeah, so it's like I'm not actually that huge. My FFMI is still definitely within the normal range, but of course, yeah, and I'm not saying any specific fitness influencer made videos about me out of jealousy, but obviously that's a common theme, you know. If someone looks better than yourself, you want to make the excuse that, oh, they're taking something that you're you're not, when it could be genetics, it could be work ethic, and in my case it was probably a little of both. Yeah, I had really good work ethic, but also a genetic advantage as well.
Yeah, no, guys, Connor has probably like the most insane bodybuilding genetics I've seen. Like, I met him for the first time at a spa last week, and in person, I'm not lying, he has like the most aesthetic physique I've seen. And I think my physique's the most aesthetic, but he's got a very aesthetic physique, man. All right, so you have this crazy physique right now, but you're obviously running some sort of gear in which you are actually selling. Could you tell me kind of the stuff that you're currently running?
Yeah, so actually currently right now, I've taken a break from the other Natty Plus supplements because I'm doing an experiment with enclomiphene, which is I want to say natural testosterone booster, but that's
I don't know anything about that. I don't think any of my viewers do.
So it's like, what does natural mean? By natural testosterone booster, I mean that it boosts your natural testosterone production.
Okay.
And we can talk about what exactly characterizes a natural or unnatural supplement, but the idea of enclomiphene is it boosts your natural testosterone production, so it's not suppressive like something like an external testosterone injection would be.
Yeah.
So that's a huge advantage of it, is that you can actually achieve TRT levels of testosterone without suppressing your natural testosterone production.
Yeah.
And there are a few side effects that some people may experience, like emotional side effects, but if you don't experience the side effects, I mean, it seems to be superior to TRT because of the lack of testosterone suppression. So that's what I'm currently experimenting with. The other supplements that I've ran in the past, like MK677, that's a growth hormone secretagogue that boosts your natural growth hormone production. Again, it's not something that suppresses any natural endogenous hormones. And then blue and black ox testosterone boosters, those are natural testosterone boosters as well. They have a similar effect to enclomiphene, they just work through slightly different mechanisms. And then I experimented with the SARM AC262. I'm not a huge proponent of SARMs, although I'm probably more of a proponent than the typical mainstream, because the mainstream unfairly demonizes SARMs, but there are some SARMs that have minimal side effects and are actually less suppressive than other SARMs. So that's actually why I only experimented with AC262 now, or I experimented with Ostrine in the past, but now I only experiment with AC262 and minimally suppressive SARMs with minimal side effects, and AC262 is one of those. So I'd say those are the main. I mean, there are also a lot of other supplements I experiment with that are considered more natural, like turkesterone, right? There are things like arachidonic acid, epimuscle, or epicatechin. So just different things like that, yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome, man. So would you advocate other people, like obviously you have a pretty young audience as well, like would you advocate someone who's like 16, 17 to hop on this stuff, or maybe like tap out their genetic potential and then consider like slowly bumping up what they're actually taking?
Oh yeah, I would recommend that no one get on any of this stuff at all. I would recommend no one even getting into bodybuilding at all, right? I recommend that people, focus on their health. Yeah, sure, develop an aesthetic physique if you want, although the problem is like a lot of people develop their physique specifically to derive external validation, right? And then it ends up not being fulfilling, and then they spiral into drug abuse because they keep wanting more and more, and it's never good enough, you know what I mean? So really the Natty Plus protocol was developed for those who they just have to, they've committed to building an aesthetic physique, right? And the Natty Plus protocol is a balance method that, in my opinion, helps mitigate drug abuse, right? Because most people, when they commit to going unnatural, because they derive value in that Natty card, it's not worth just taking a little bit of anabolic substances. They want to take a lot, because the last thing they want to be perceived as is someone who looks natural but is taking anabolic steroids or anabolic substances, right? So the Natty Plus protocol, the idea is to dissolve this dichotomous model of natural versus not, think of it more of a spectrum, and allow people to have a more balanced approach that I think will be a lot healthier in the long run. So, no, I mean, again, like most of the people who follow me or follow fitness channels, they're already committed to developing a good physique, and so these are for those people, because I believe that this is healthier than obviously abusing drugs, but it's also healthier than being we call them noble natties, right? So a lot of people are so committed to being natural. They derive so much value from that natural card, right? They think of themselves as superior in some way for being fully natural, that they end up engaging in just as extreme behaviors as the unnatural side, right? And I was actually one of those people, right? Because I wanted to maintain this physique naturally, I had to engage in these obsessive compulsive behaviors like meticulously counting calories, like sacrificing my social life, I was living a totally unbalanced lifestyle that was not beneficial for my physical or mental health. So in that case, like, I believe that this method, because as you see, I work out for 30 minutes a day, right? I am able to, take a day off and go socialize with people or something, or
Yeah.
you know, I'm not as scrupulous in my bodybuilding endeavors as I once was, and I think it's a lot more healthier. So what I'm doing right now, I believe, is healthier than my noble natty approach in the past.
Okay,
So,
there we go.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to fitness, I mean, all of this, aesthetics, looksmaxing, like, you should find the right balance where you look your best, you feel your best, and obviously you're not going too extreme in any direction.
Right.
All right, Connor, my audience, they care a lot about getting girls. You've gotten a lot of girls on camera, like we mentioned. What would you say is the most aesthetic physique to actually get girls? Because obviously there's like the slim, like model physique with like not much muscle, but like a shredded six pack versus like the huge bodybuilder like Henry Cavill or even like your physique, you know?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It all depends on the girl. We can speak in generalizations, but it's important to note that many different types of women have different preferences for physiques. I mean, some girls actually prefer dad bods. Now, it's less than what's typically purported, right? And a lot of girls will be disingenuous, and it's a type of virtual signaling to say that, oh, I like a dad bod. But some girls, and it's usually predicated off some sort of insecurity. They've probably had some Chad in the past that has hurt them, you know, in some way, and broke their heart, right? But some girls actually, some girls actually genuinely prefer dad bods because they perceive that relationship is safer, like he's less likely to cheat on them or something like that. But
Do you think it's really a dad bod, or is it just like a bodybuilder in an off season? You know, like Zac Efron, he bulked up a little bit. Everyone said he had a dad bod. He was like 15% body fat.
yeah, well, again, I'm saying like some girls actually authentically prefer the dad bod, but that's probably a low proportion of girls. I would say something like Brad Pitt from Fight Club is probably like the ideal physique. I would say that the typical physique that guys aspire to have, like the men's physique.
Yeah, it's called like the male gaze.
That's probably overkill, you know? That's probably too big for the typical girl to find maximally attractive. Now, it's probably more attractive than the average physique, but in terms of if you're actually trying to max out your looks for the broad majority of women, I would say something like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. So definitely some muscle, lean, but balanced, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm probably too big, you know, to be honest. Like I'm probably a little too big than what would be considered the ideal for the average woman.
Yeah. Would you feel comfortable with your physique? Like, do you feel 100% confident with it, or do you have physique goals that you yourself want to attain?
I mean, probably in the past, I was a little insecure with my physique. I mean, that's usually what motivates anyone to build a formidable physique. Is it's derived off some sort of insecurity, right?
Always.
But no, I would say I'm pretty secure with my physique at the moment, and I guess I will continue to be. I mean, if anything, in the future, I would want to lean down a little bit for health purposes. You know, in the past, I did a 4-day fast and absolutely deteriorated my physique into a state of like emaciation, right? But even then, I was probably actually the most confident in my physique. It was incredibly like relieving, you know, to lose a bunch of muscle and still feel content with your physique, you know. So
good for the ego.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really derive a lot of self-worth off of my physique anymore. So I think I'm pretty confident with how I look. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Does it kind of come more from within now, rather than that external validation?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and actually when it comes to getting girls, I think that's the most important aspect, you know? I think a lot of people, they'll build an amazing physique and they notice that they get more girls and they attribute that to the physique, when in reality it's probably just because they're more confident and they're actually like exuding that inner confidence, right? And so the inner confidence essentially trumps everything, you know, when it comes to getting girls. So I think that it's very important, as people build their external appearance, they also build their internal confidence as well. Because if those two things get out of balance, that's what leads to the perpetual body dysmorphia and this horrible cycle of drug abuse, because people will build an amazing physique, but they don't concurrently build their internal confidence, and then it's never enough, and then they continue to abuse drugs, and it's just a never-ending cycle until they probably die from drug abuse, you know?
Yeah, that's probably my biggest criticism of the fitness industry. They get so obsessed with it, when like if they were to stop at like a Greek god physique or like the Brad Pitt and Troy, like they would have all the girls and confidence that they need, but they have to get to that point of satisfaction, and most guys don't. They want to get bigger and bigger, and so that's whenever drug abuse comes into play, you know?
Exactly. If you have the mindset of not being enough, right, of inadequacy, that doesn't just go away when you build an amazing physique, right? That underlying mental orientation is still there. So that has to be fixed in like as you build the physique as well, or again, you'll just never be content, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Connor, my audience, and right now, like all over the internet, I don't know if you've seen it, but Looksmaxing and like that stuff is everywhere right now. Do you have any tips on how to looksmax, how to be your most attractive version of yourself? Do looks matter as much as people say they do, or is it more, like you said, about the confidence?
It's tough because everyone has different perceptions of looks. Like there's this trend now, especially for girls when they're interviewed, to say, "Oh no, looks don't matter at all." You know, it's
like
this virtue signal.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not the reality.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys think looks matter more than they do. You know, this is the pickup community. There's a lot of dysfunctional mentalities in the pickup community, but there are a lot of beneficial ones as well. And some pickup artists will show you that, I mean, the best pickup artists, the most popular ones, are like ugly guys.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's extremely intriguing to see an ugly guy get all these girls, you know?
Yeah.
And I was in college and I looked as good, if not better than I do now.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't getting that many girls at all because I was just lacking confidence. I couldn't even go up and talk to a girl, right?
Yeah.
So a confident, ugly guy who's actually willing to go up and approach girls in a charismatic way is going to beat an aesthetic, shy introvert any day, you know?
100%.
So, yeah, obviously. And, well, here's the thing, and it sucks because when I was this, and I maybe still am, you know, this Greek god-looking Chad figure, but if that is accompanied with shyness and introversion, that creeps girls out because it's incongruent. It's like, whoa, why does this guy look amazing, but his personality is embodying the opposite?
Yeah, it's like a red flag. Like they instantly pick it up. They're like, maybe there's something off about this guy, you know? Like they don't trust you at that point.
Yeah, but on the other hand, right? If you're a conventionally unattractive guy, but you're exuding this amazing confidence and charisma, girls will be like, whoa, there's something here. Like it'll catch their attention because like, why is this guy so confident when his looks are not conventionally attractive, right?
Then they get intrigued, want to find out what else there is, you know?
So there's actually some benefits. I'm not saying that it's a total like net positive compared to having it all. But there are benefits to actually being ugly because again, you can have that contrast of being just extremely charismatic, and that will attract girls' attention.
Honestly, I feel like being unattractive, the best benefit is it gives you like much more of a fire. Like you want to make more money, you want to like go all out, like be the most charismatic person, or at least you should if you're not very handsome. But whenever like you're born just very attractive, I feel like you have a little bit less motivation. Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, true. There are advantageous things that you can derive off of any circumstance, you know, and I think that's the most advantageous way to look at reality is finding the positive in any circumstance, right? I agree.
All right, Connor, so last question for today. What kind of legacy would you like to leave behind? Because like I said in the beginning of the video, I think you are one of the most influential fitness influencers, like up there with Ziz, people like that, in terms of inspiring people. So like whenever your time comes, what do you want to leave behind, man?
Well, it's certainly fulfilling to an extent to leave behind a legacy that motivated a lot of people to get in shape. But I feel like that's not the deepest level of fulfillment that I can achieve when it comes to influencing people. I want to influence people on a deeper level, on a level of personal development or self-actualization that actually targets the root insecurities, right? Because bodybuilding, it essentially just obfuscates these insecurities, right? And so I want to motivate people to actually do the deep inner work and develop that deep internal sense of confidence along with that external confidence. And so that's what I'll be working on in the future is more personal development based content on new YouTube channels and stuff like that. But that's what I'm more focused on now.
There we go. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure everyone watching this is also looking forward to it. Thanks for coming onto the channel, man. Really appreciate it. One of my icons growing up, so it's crazy. Yeah, very grateful.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Cool. All right. Thank you, man.